Ms. Council President. Council President Pro Tem Espinal, then Councilwoman Miller.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President, and good evening, everyone. Uh, Members of the press, dear colleagues, and also community members. The violence in Providence has got to stop. We just passed a budget for $540 million that does great investments in a different area that we as an urban city need to put in place in order to keep the city moving forward. But when the public does not feel safe, it all falls apart. This is why this has got to stop. When I listen to Mr. Amandi and the chief speak, I'm a little confused because it almost sounds like they're speaking about two different departments. Mr. Amandi talks about one that has challenges, that it is lacking resources, that their hands are tied. And then the chief talks about a department that, although having challenges, it's moving forward, it's working. And he went on to say that more police does not necessarily equate less violence. Is that correct, Chief?
That portion of it is correct, but more policing does equate to more community-oriented policing, which we haven't provided in the form of foot posts, directed patrols, which are the real means in which you employ community-oriented policing to address quality of life issues.
So it's not just necessary because you have a larger number of police, doesn't mean
For
that you
violent
have
crime, for violent, because we've seen some of our numbers will go down, even though we have a lesser number of officers year to year. But as far as employing community policing efforts in the community and quality of life issues, absolutely. It affects the operations of the Providence Police Department when you lose those resources.
Thank you, Chief. All right, so all the measures that we're talking about tonight sounds to me, we're reacting to crime, you know, and but I don't hear anything about being proactive. See, I don't, Councilman Goncalves touched upon something that I wanted to talk about, which is the root cause of crime, which is the poverty, which is the lack of education. Our kids are attending a school system that has failed. The 98% of our kids cannot read or write at grade level. There's lack of opportunities and all the everything else that we know about. So what do we think or expect is going to happen in the years to come? So we're reacting today to things that we knew about, but nothing was done. You see? So we need to keep that in mind, because this lack of opportunity for our children, our youth, is really going to carry a lot of weight in what happens in the future. Some of the individuals involved in the latest shootings, I had 9 people that were shot on Carolina Avenue. That's in my ward. I believe one of those kids was 14 years old, which tells me that 10 years ago, he was in pre-K at 4. Another one was 18. I think the other one was 23. So 10 years ago, elementary school, middle school. So at some point during that time is when we fail those kids. And unless we address that, we'll be here every single year having the same type of conversation. I get it. We do have an uptick in crime and it needs to be addressed. And we can give all the tools in the world that the police department needs to address that, because the violence needs to stop. So I'm not saying that I'm here against the police or the work that they're doing. I'm saying that when you empower the police to do the job and to take care of the crime that's there today, at the same time, we need to put something in place that is going to stop the crime tomorrow. Because if we keep failing our kids, you're going to have a lot more victims out there. No one should die just because they happen to be standing on the street talking to someone, right? No one should be at home because they live in fear. So let's talk, let's deal with the current situation that we have, and let's deal with the root cause of the problem. That's the only way we're gonna get this. If not, our city is just gonna fall apart. So we need to address that. So let's put a plan together, because I have not heard about a plan. We'll leave here tonight, but there's no serious plan here. So when we draft that plan, let's do a two-part. Current situation, we give the police the tools that they need to deal with this. And let's talk about our children. Let's put that part of the plan. So that tomorrow they can walk on safe streets. Tomorrow they can have a good future. And we already begun at the council. Yes, we did pass the budget that included millions of dollars that's gonna go into youth empowerment. It's gonna go into early childhood learning. It's gone into employment for the youth. But we did this year. Let's keep on doing it every year. And let's make it a commitment that we are gonna address this. And perhaps in the next year, in a few years ahead, we'll be able to see the fruit of that. We won't be here talking about what are we gonna do about the uptick in crime. Maybe we'll be here celebrating, because we'll have a city that works, and that works for everyone. That's what we need. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, President.
Thank you,
Pro Tem.
Mr. Amandi. Thank you.
Just asking me to be aware of the time and the hour, please. So I apologize.